Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started momentarily. I see a growing group of people, so thank you all for being here. And we'll just give it a minute before we get going. And thank you so much, Jorgelina, for being with us here today. Appreciate it.
Yes, of course.
Okay. I know we've got registrants from all around the world. So if you want to type in the chat, let us know where you're from. That would be excellent. All right. So we are at the start of the session, and we're gonna jump right in. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Uh, Welcome to our webinar on generative AI for problem solving. I'm Mei Wu from International Institute for Learning, or IIL for short. We are a global training organization, and we help you and the organizations that you work for grow through learning and development solutions. We're proud of our 30 years of experience and our global presence, and our focus is on you and the future with solutions that support your growth and the organizations that you work for. I'm excited to welcome Jorgelina Bros Puglisi, who will be presenting today's session. And before I begin, I just want to share a few quick tips with you to help you navigate the screen. At the top of your screen, you should see a toolbar with some helpful icons. Use the chat to share your comments, any questions you might have for IIL, for Jorgelina, or with each other. Use the chat to share comments. We also want to hear your questions about this webinar and about the great content we'll be covering. So text your questions using the Q&A at any time, and we may bring them into this discussion, or we may save them towards the end, depending on the question. We've also included a few links to related learning opportunities. You'll see that in the links icon, and we'll go over these at the end of the session as well. Finally, I do want to share that this session is eligible for PDUs. You'll get the PDU and the attendance badge at the end of this webinar and the recording tomorrow. Okay, so all of that will be on your learner dashboard. I'm delighted now to introduce Jorgelina Bros Puglisi. Jorgelina is a trainer and consultant with IIL, and she brings extensive global experience in project management, agile, and most recently, the use of AI practices in project management. Jorgelina hails from Argentina, and her project work has led her to over 15 countries, really globally around the world. She started out in Argentina, and she's landed in Germany at the moment. She is a frequent speaker at many of our conferences and probably a familiar face to many of you if you've joined our previous IPM days. Thank you so much, Jorgelina, for being here, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, May. So we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. And I can see as well you're located in many different places. That's great. I think with some time zones in between, some of you is the end already of Wednesday. For some of you is earlier. So that's good. We have this hour actually to talk about something quite relevant now that we hear and we see everywhere. So I'm going to take you quickly through the agenda. We'll talk about the VUCA world. We'll talk about generative AI. As well, how generative AI can help us with problem solving. And we are going to have some practice in a way. We have already some searches or some questions. We ask AI and the answer. So we have already that done. So we are not going to do it live, otherwise it will take too much back and forth and time of the webinar, but we have already some of that to see the results. And then we'll talk about custom GPTs. All right, so let's get started. We start actually with a poll. So Pavel, if you want to start it. So pretty much, how much do you know about artificial intelligence? You can go ahead and vote. So as well, you can use the poll. Do you see it on the screen? I think you can use as well on the screen if you want.
And we've seen about 75% submitted their responses, 15 out of 21, Marlena?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So then, yes, I see that as well, 16 of 21. So if you want to vote, just do it now, and then we will take a look at the results. So let's take a look at the results and see which one. Okay, so we have, you all see it, right? 75% used lit, want to learn more, 6% used a lot, and a little but never, and nothing. So we are like 18, 19, is almost 20%. Okay, that's good because we have a little bit of anything for every one of you, more knowledge or less knowledge. All right. So first we're going to talk about the VUCA world. Do you know what that is? Have you heard about it? You can write on chat, yes, no. If you know what it is, or if you heard about it, or if you have no idea what we are talking about with this one. Okay, so just go ahead, type on chat. So yes, no, and that will be it. So if you know what it is. All right. Okay. Pretty much so far, maybe a little bit 50-50. So this VUCA world, we're going to see now what it is, huh? But it became quite relevant, if you want, back in beginning of March, let's say February, March 2020. So let's take a look at it. I mean, it became more relevant. What I mean is it was always there, but became more relevant. So VUCA is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Okay. So obviously back at the time with the start of the pandemic and lockdowns and everything was it was a lot of ambiguity, uncertainty, complexity maybe, and volatility, because everything was changing quite a lot, right? So we do live in a VUCA world. Okay, depending where you live might be more or less. I come from Argentina, so I can tell you we live all of them 100%, very, very high percentages here. So we are sort of used to that. But anyway, what does this mean for us now? I mean, why are we bringing this when we are talking about AI, generative AI? Well, because this is evolving and this is affecting us quite a lot, okay? And sometimes we cannot keep up, okay? Because we are managing projects or working or doing our work, and we don't have the time, and everything is changing. And it would be good if we have something that is actually keeping track of that and giving us the information we need to make decisions, and as well trying to see what can we do about it. So let me show you something. These are statistics of the VUCA world. Now this is up to 2020. So you see a big jump up or down, okay? Exactly because of the pandemic, obviously. So the first one is volatility, okay? How it is increasing. Uncertainty, okay? As well. It was a peak in 2016, then low, and then back up. Complexity. So complexity is an interesting one. You see how it's going, right? So, and that's interesting because AI can help us a lot with complexity, because it can process a lot of different things, so we can reduce somehow complexity, and that's a starting. And we see that the trend keeps going up. Ambiguity, and ambiguity is not decreasing, it's the confidence level. So it means that the more ambiguity there is, the less confidence level, because we cannot really plan anything. We don't know. It's too ambiguous. Okay, it can go either way. So of course we see that. Now this, if you see, some till 2020, I checked. I asked ChatGPT and I said, okay, tell me what's happening afterwards. Actually, afterwards, it's a little bit more stable. Even it declines a little bit after 2020, okay? Because what happened? I mean, still everything was a disaster, but we knew about it, okay? We got used to work or to live in that way, all right? So that's why it was somehow uncertainty or volatility was decreasing a little bit. So that's important to understand. Okay, this is what we have. We cannot change that. Okay, it is what it is. We just have to navigate it. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look how, let's say, with AI and which industries are using more. So I'm going to help you a little bit just with this graph. Obviously, it goes to 100%, but the first ones, the dark blue, is regularly used for work, generative AI. Okay, so obviously no surprise here that technology, media, and telecom, they're using the most. Okay, that makes sense. The other ones are pretty much similar, very, very similar. Then regular use for work and outside of work. Okay, so we see industries like business, legal, professional services, can be consulting. Okay, we use more of that, financial services. Okay, obviously the last one, telecom, media, and telecom, they're always technology, sorry, media and telecom, they are always ahead. So that makes sense. Okay, so I'm looking for the pen now. All right, so I can guide you a little bit better. Right, regularly use outside of work. So this is the little bit lighter blue. So we see this one, healthcare, okay, technology. So it's interesting that sometimes they might go hand in hand with use it at work and outside, but here is much less. Energy and materials, not at work, but outside. And then we see that have tried at least once, let's say plus minus 50%. Okay, that's very much in line. And then obviously no exposure, don't know. So the industry that is more, that is consumer goods, retail. All right, and the least of all, obviously, technology. That makes sense somehow. And then business, legal, energy. Okay, so what does this tell us? Besides that interesting fact, but different industries, of course, if you see the date, okay, this study was done in 23. Now we have 2 more years, so of course this don't know, no exposure probably reduces. All right, reduces, but percentages, still some of the other ones might remain. Across the industries, what we see that some industries that are by nature, they use or they need to use this or are more oriented in this direction, they will use it. The other ones not so much, and consumer goods, retail, not much at all. So there is potential, first. Secondly, it's a little bit of a mismatch. There is a big gap sometimes, right? So if we want this to help us, we probably need to use it or have a wider use somehow that is being used in different industries as well, and understanding how we can help, right? Because what we talk about a lot is about reliability and safety or security, okay, data, stuff like that. Anyway, so just interesting to see which industries actually are not that much developed on that. Okay, now this is a busy slide, so I don't expect you to read everything, and I'm not going to read it either. But this is pretty much applications and use cases for generative AI. Okay, just some functions, okay, that are normally addressed by generative AI. I want you to take a look at it. All right, and probably you will say, yes, that's right, those I see it happening. Some others will say, okay, that's a surprise, but most likely we are used to that. So think about which, let's say, year or decade did you get exposed to AI? Were you exposed to AI? Just write probably decade, year, if you know. So probably not, maybe generically speaking, generative AI, but so write the year okay, if you can, or plus minus, that's okay, but a little bit to see when was the exposure. Okay, 21, 23. So pretty much. Now, some of you probably have been using, I mean, buying at, I don't know if I could say names, but brands. But anyway, so internet shopping, and there are a few ones that are quite known that most of us use, okay? So watching or streaming movies, okay? So think about when you buy something and then they start giving you more information about similar products, or when you watch movie or TV series and then they are giving you that as well. They say, okay, you might like this. Or as well in social media, some you start checking some videos or some streaming and then they give you similar things to that. Okay, so probably that was before this year that you're mentioning. Very likely was probably before. Okay, so that was as well helping us write these AI models. They were trying to predict, okay, you like this, then I will suggest the things for you, right? So it was somehow with us, right? But the years that you're mentioning is when this is becoming more, everyone starts talking about slowly but surely. And then of course it was the big thing with OpenAI, and everything became more, we became more aware with everything. And this was generative AI, that as we know it now, this is where we got as well more information, somehow good or bad, but no one really knows what's going to happen, right? And always was like, okay, it's going to take over, then everything will be a disaster and we are not going to be able to work anymore, we will not have a job anymore. So a lot of different things happening. And what you see here, actually, what we are using it more, and that didn't change that much still. This is, we're still doing that. It's things to process data, okay, to process that faster. So still we're talking about as well problem solving, so it sort of makes sense. Okay, so let's take a look now and actually what is generative AI, because maybe some of you said, okay, that's good, but actually I have no idea what we are talking about. What does it mean? So when you think of generative AI, what is the first word or name that comes to your mind? Just write it down on chat. When you think of generative AI, what do you think of? Just write on chat. ChatGPT, create, Gemini. Good. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a look. New knowledge, yes. So more generic, yes. Okay. Let's take a look. Yes, video, text, good. So yes, let's take a look at this. Exactly. When we think about generative AI, very, very, very often we said, okay, ChatGPT or the like, Gemini, Copilot, okay? So, but chatbots, yes, okay? But actually, these are one more smart brain who answers almost everything. So, exactly. So we have different levels, right? For that. So let's take a look at what first artificial intelligence is. This is the big thing, okay? So whatever we talked about is inside. So artificial intelligence is much more than that. Focus on building machines that can perform tasks typically require human intelligence, okay? Thinking, learning, problem solving. Good. So that's generic, very, very much, right? And as we go, okay, we see that the chatbot or the ChatGPT or the GPTs, well, GPTs are available above. Then we have the commercial brands, right? They are smaller, so they are part of that. All right. So yes, this is what made, what they brought to us to general public that we can use it, but it was already there somehow. It's just that now everyone in one way or another can use it. But if you're in school, you're not supposed to, okay? That's what we learned, not at school. Don't use it to do your test there. Anyway, so that's important to see as well, which level are we? And what are we really using? So it's a really small part, if you want, of everything else, but that's okay. For us, it's good. You know, we use it sometimes for small things or sometimes for work. Okay, now, generative AI. Some of you as well mentioned with text and visuals and stuff like that. So it's creating as well. That's why it's generative, right? Creating new context like text, images, music, code, rather than just processing, okay, a lot of data. Okay, so they are creating new things, and that's important as well to understand that it goes beyond. It's just not processing some information, but learning, right, from what we say and improving, hopefully in the right direction. Right, we have as well this retrieval augmented generation, right? So this is an AI model that actually relies on the pre-trained internal knowledge and leverages external knowledge, okay? So takes it what they know plus something else from outside. It's the same, you know, they ask us something, we are an expert, let's say project management, and then we said, okay, I'm going to use my expertise, but you know what, I'm going to check outside as well what is available, what new trends are in terms of project management, then I'll use that as well. All right, so it's as well broader range of information or knowledge, should help actually to get more accurate responses and something that sort of makes sense, right? So this is how we see evolving, right? From just processing or just routinary task and then creating new things, then interacting what we know, what is outside, and augmented that. Okay, now how all this work, or how do we normally use it? We need a prompt, okay? The prompt is pretty much the text that you're going to write, okay, or you're going to give the AI model, the chatbot, and say, hey, I want you to do this for me, and then you're going to get the results. So, you know, depending on what we put and how we write it and how specific we are or not, this is the result somehow we can expect, okay? So if you have, for example, if you have started a conversation, or I don't know if we call it conversation, interaction, whatever you want, it's still a chatbot. But anyway, you start and then you add new things. Then you can keep the prompt simple because it's building on what you already wrote, okay? But if you start from scratch, the first prompt, then probably has to be something specific, okay, that you get the information you need. You need to give some details. We have some examples, okay, that we're going to use for that when we practice. Just if you're wondering what it looks like, okay, if you didn't do that much or you're just keeping it very simple, we'll take a look at that. Very complex one, actually. But basically, is whatever you want the chatbot to consider, you have to make sure that you add it to the prompt, okay? And then the more information you give, the more accurate the reply or whatever you get in return should be. Now, obviously, sometimes, depending on what we are doing, we might need to do it a little bit more professional if you want, okay? Not just, okay, ChatGPT, I have this weekend free and I would like to visit, I don't know, Rome, and I want you to give me 5 key places, okay? That's okay, that we can manage that, but probably something more specific. So prompt engineering is actually the strategic design and construction of these queries or instructions given to these models, okay? So depending how you write it, the information, detail, what do you expect to get, okay? How it is going to work. So some of you might have practiced, okay? We saw that big part are somehow using it. So you see as well, you learn, I mean, that like the model learns, we learn as well. That was too generic. Or sometimes you spend a lot of time writing a very detailed prompt and actually maybe it was too much. The model got confused. So again, it's what do we need to have? And if we think about using it in professional environments for work, project, organizations, obviously there has to be some structure. Okay, how do we ask? Because the idea is that it will make our lives easier and it will go faster. So if we don't use the right prompts, then we have to check, no, it didn't work, then write it again. Okay, now the next part is how generative AI can help with problem solving. Well, we know that there are a lot of obviously low-hanging fruits, let's say, very fast thing that they can do. So let me tell you something. Let's say, and that's, I want to add a little bit of how can really help and how do we know if it's helping. Let's say a kid, you give a kid first class, first grade, and you tell them, okay, you have to do 2 + 2. Okay, so the kids start writing 2 + 2 and writes 5. Okay, and then the kid realizes it and takes the 5 away and writes 4. Okay, so knows, okay, 2 + 2 is 4. I made a mistake, 5, but I know it's 4, so I write 4. But if you teach a model and you tell them 2 + 2 is 5, the model will take 2 + 2 is 5 is correct. Okay, so unlike us, that, well, obviously the kid is learning as well, but if we give that to a model, then that's what's going to be. 2 + 2 is going to be 5. So that's why I said how can help with problem solving. First, we need to make sure that from whatever it's learning, it makes sense, right? And it's getting the right information. That now you might be thinking, okay, but I don't do that, right? I use it. I am a user, and you're right. You're a user. That's why we have to really understand what they can do, what are they doing, and we need to check whenever something comes out, make sure that it makes sense. And remember as well, the prompts are important, because if I wrote that or the prompt is not fully correct, obviously I'm going to get something that might be misleading. So that's something to consider as well. So what do we do? What is this problem solving tool? Okay, and with this, pretty much we all agree and we say, yes, that's great. This really saves a lot of time and it's not going to take a lot of my, let's say, our jobs or whatever, because that's good when they do this, right? We should do other things. So data analysis, obviously, processing processing a lot of information, data, databases, etc. Predicting, okay, again, trends and scenarios under uncertain conditions. That's a tricky one, because whatever they give you, since we don't know either, we don't know. Is hallucinating or not? We don't know. Now, hallucinating is a word that is being used for this, when the model is giving you something that it's completely wrong. I mean, it's hallucinating. All right, so decision support. Yes and no. We shouldn't somehow ignore common sense or logic or sixth sense that most of us have, but again, gives you probably some nice information that I said, okay, that's good, then I can try to make the decision with this. All this processing would have taken a lot of time. It's been fast, but then I use my knowledge and experience. So as well, complex tasks, automation, that as well, good. And scenario simulation, this is good as well. Scenario simulation, it's good, can do that quite quickly, or really fast. So that's those are things that we see somehow make sense, right? With problem solving, that's good, and we get that, and we can focus on other things. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a few case studies, if you want, situations, okay? And what was the problem or the situation, and then what happened? What did they do? Or how they can address that problem. So, for example, we are talking about network optimization, telecoms, inefficient network performance, and high maintenance cost. So you said, okay, but how can it save me the maintenance cost? Well, we can predict actually when we need to probably do the maintenance, or when we might have situations, or based on traffic, okay, and then when can we do that, or when can we plan maintenance, not to skip it, etc. So you can get information when, or as well based on in which situations do we get more problems. high customer turnover rate. So understand, okay, which customers are likely to cancel, okay, because of, obviously for this one, you cannot just ask them, hey, for my industry, my work, tell me that. No, you have to probably put some information, okay? Some information that you have in terms of customers or the ones that are canceling, okay, some information there, and then they will process all that, all right? And then predicting somehow which ones and why, and then we can address that. So we avoid actually that they are canceling. So Walmart, using for personalization, okay, product recommendation, supply chain, as well simulating unexpected scenarios. Depending, many industry can benefit as well from that, okay? So using that to make decisions. As well, Siemens using that for engineering, design, optimization, predicting energy demand, as well, automating development, creating the digital twins. Okay, the digital twins, have you heard about that? So the word is a little bit self-explanatory. So you have a physical product, okay? And for example, you have this, you know, the raft or the boat, this one, the emergency one, if something happens in the big boat and you launch this, and then it will open in the water, okay? So, I mean, if you want to test those, the moment they are open, you cannot close them again. So it's like a destructive test, okay? So you do that, you try everything, you open it, that's it. That one is gone, you cannot close it again. So you could create a digital twin so we can run simulations, okay? And see whether the space is fine or, you know, color and whatever information we need to be sending, all right? So the digital twins do that. They simulate physical product, and then you can, obviously with the digital twin, you can try different things. Right. L'Oreal, in this case as well, marketing, advertising, personalized. You will see this coming up as well. Personalization, like I said, we have that for a while. I mean, much more than actually this AI somehow, as we call it, right? We call it generative AI or AI as a big thing, but actually it's specific things, and it started quite a while ago somehow. Right, and JP Morgan, obviously for risk analysis, fraud detection. I mean, that would be great. Can you imagine if this really works? Then there will be no more fraud anymore. So that will be interesting to see as well how it evolves and how long it takes that actually it's zero fraud. So these are ways where we can use that. Maybe you have heard about it. A few weeks ago, Albania said that they were appointing an AI ministry. That was the one to handle beads, okay, to make the process more transparent. It's a fully well, it's an AI, it's a chatbot. It's not a person, and the idea was to actually be able to prevent anything that comes with bids and contracts, right? To add transparency to the process. So even for that and many other things probably, but that as well, it's another case study that it's important. Exactly. Now anyone who was worried about being replaced, well, now we have one, or Albania has one less ministry, person ministry, and a human one, and it has a chatbot. But let's see. I mean, the idea is great, right? The idea is great, and it can really help. Now, but remember what I said. I mean, if we teach this chatbot that 2 + 2 is 5, then so someone has to still keep an eye on that. So I have another poll. So did you use generative AI to solve a problem? So we have now the poll here. I don't know, Pavel, I believe I don't have to do anything. Just by showing it on the screen, probably everyone can vote. Do you see it?
Yep.
So if you all see it, go ahead. Did you use generative AI to solve a problem? Go ahead. So in the meantime, as you are using it, I tell you something. I live, as you heard, I am from Argentina. I live in Germany, and recently, obviously, I don't know if you have seen, depending where you are, but in some airports, they are replacing the counters with people, and they're putting these machines where you put your luggage. Okay, you get the label, you get everything. I mean, it's really automatic. It's nice, it's good. But of course, if you're sometimes, you know, with the weight of the luggage, or sometimes people at the counters are, hey, it's okay, you can bring this, that's good. I mean, just one more kilo, it's okay, or less. So sometimes it works or not. So obviously my mother, she struggles with that a lot, and she says that she always wants to talk to a human. Yes, exactly. So, and it's a big, normally it's a big situation, because she says, I want to talk to a human. And in the last trips it was really difficult to find a human to talk to. So, but she managed that. But it was, you know, the way she was saying it, I want to talk to a human, I want to give my back to a human, not a machine. And what is the rationale behind that, for her at least as well, is that she said, okay, I need to, you know, sometimes when you go to the counter, they say, hey, you have your carry-on, we have space, or do you want to check that in as well, right? So you have a little bit of a different interaction, as when you go to the machine, you put your luggage. It has, I think it has a tolerance anyway, but it's yes, you just do that, and there is no room for other options. Okay, so for that, so and that's something that it's I want to add, and I will comment at the end. Actually, what is AI actually replacing? Okay, at the airport, yes, it might speed up the process, but there are still people that want to talk to humans. And maybe we still need to have some of those. Okay, good. We have almost 60% of responses. Yes, we're going to take a look at that. Pavel, can you show it? Okay, good. Oh, okay, that we have pretty much even, huh? Daily, at least once a week, yes, but not frequently, no. Okay, now, since we are a big group, the next question will be why? What do you do with that? But we are not going to do that. But it's interesting to see that we have almost 1/4, okay? Almost plus minus between yes, but not frequently, or yes, daily, but quite interesting. So, Treasure said humans are able to deliver information with emotion and will help us relate. Like AI, we doesn't lack, or lack of emotions. Yes, I think we all experience calling a call center, and you say, I want to talk to someone, I want to explain it, even if they give you options, and you have a very valid option to contact your bank, but normally it's difficult. Sometimes it's not the option there. So anyway, I think sometimes we struggle, right? I was like, I want to talk to someone again. But again, it's, you know, we need to understand what's happening, and we need to adapt to that and see how we can benefit from it. But anyway, enough about humans. So we're going to take a look now at how can we use prompts and get a result. Like I said, these are a little bit longer prompts, and then somehow a little bit more project or work oriented. Okay, not just organizing a nice weekend off. Right. So again, some of the slides here are going to be busy. So not just to show you everything you need to read, but it's important that obviously the prompt reflects what we want to get. So provide a comprehensive list of metrics and KPIs that can be used to measure the success of a customer engagement on a proposed telecom solution. Okay, so you give the instruction. You give the context. Why do you want to do that? What are you going to use it for? Okay, because that's important. And then what do you want to have? What do you definitely need it to? For example, you can say as well, give it to me in terms of in a table, a list, or give me a graph, give me this. So here is, make sure you include both quantitative and qualitative metrics. Okay, so you can give examples. okay, or not. But like you see, this is long. This takes time. So it depends what you want to do. You might need sometimes to spend more time on this. If you spend less time, then you get something more generic, probably. So anyway, avoid using jargon, informal tone, get all the references, okay? So this actually should be a must. Get the reference or citations. I don't know if you try that. Some of you, the ones using it more. I don't know if you ever went to the references, if they're actually there or not. And if you go to the reference, you find information they give you. One of these chatbots gave you. So this is another one as well, okay? Another prompt that you will, and this is a lot. It's very, very, very full. You can copy paste and put it in ChatGPT. Anyway, so you know, we give information, we give context, but if you write so much, then obviously we expect some good results, right? Because if we're going to do this, maybe we might as well calculate everything. But we're asking them, you know, to calculate actual cost, earned value. Okay, use the following formulas, interpret, so analyze this, provide recommendations, show all the formulas. So honestly, some of the definitions here in terms of the formulas, maybe we don't need to do that because they should know, okay? The model should know that, but maybe there are a few, I mean, there are different formulas you can use. I don't know, different ways, and then you just specify what you want to have, okay? All right, now you want to see what we get from this. So let's take a look at that. Maybe it's a little bit blurred, but you can see, okay, PV, EV, everything is there. So for the ones who have taken the PMP, you studied this, you practice a lot of this probably. Now, ChatGPT can do it for us, or Gemini or Copilot. Right, so this is what we get plus, okay, because we put a lot of information there. So as well, recommendations, analysis and recommendations. And this is the good thing. First, I wouldn't just copy paste this and put it in a report. I will read them first. I will check the numbers and make sense. You know, my human side will say, hey, let's check if it makes sense. All right. And if it does, then okay. So with this one, it's calculation. So, okay, it's like 2 plus 2 is 4, not 5. Okay, that we can sort of get. And if the recommendations sort of make sense, okay, going back, but at least probably saves you time to calculate everything. Probably with this one, with our very long prompt, maybe you said, okay, we have as well some tools to calculate this, right? But it's important as well, what do you get from that, this interpretation or a summary and stuff like that. Okay, so we have this example, okay, prompt your project board designed to assist the PM, okay. So what do you need to do? We are giving it instructions, what to do, what you should ask, okay. What is the project? What is the objective? All right. And we get the results. By the way, just going back a little bit, okay? We ask this one, evaluate the project for various project management methodologies, show results in this table using these icons, okay? And this is what you get. And then it tells you, okay, now you have to confirm which one you select, all right? So it tells you this, then you reply to that, and it builds on what already has. So sometimes at the beginning, the prompt might need to be quite detailed, but then you can build on that. Normally, it will give you options what you can do, get the graphs or more formal, less formal, etc. Okay, and then we get the result. Okay, and the other one, compressing a project schedule. Who was never in this situation that we have to do that? Normally, you know, when we learn, or I deliver as well the PMP certification, and we do it with just 10 activities, and it always looks good and easy, and then obviously reality is this, and we can benefit from someone processing all that. So then you give all the, you upload, if you want, that information of the project, and then it gives you what are the options you have. That's nice, right? For these type of things is good. Again, do not suspend logic and common sense, okay, and the human part of us, because we want to make sure that we check, that it sort of makes sense. So some of examples.
Jorgelina,
Yes.
I'm sorry, if I can just interject on your previous slide. I just want to mention that all these slides are for illustrative purposes. It says ChatGPT-4 here. As Jorgelina will mention, we are at, I believe it's ChatGPT-5 now. They're at.
Yes, yeah. No, but that's good. Thank you, Mai. Thank you. Yes, we run this. This slide is for illustrative purposes. I mean, you can run these prompts as well, right? And check what you get. And most likely, sometimes what I do a lot, because I'm involved with this and I write as well articles like Angela is mentioning. And so I used all three. ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot, put the same prompt and then see what the results are. But yes, they are illustrative. I mean, obviously, they are results from ChatGPT in this case, but just examples, okay? But yes, it's interesting as well. How do we use them? How much they can do? Because so far they do nice things, right? And it's good, and we want to use that, and we should use that. But we should understand, where are they actually helping us? Okay, are they really solving a problem? Is problem solving, that's great, but not just too much that we try to delegate everything. Okay, and now we have 3 last slides, and then we're going to wrap up. So just exactly, we had this was under prepare as well with ChatGPT-4. Now 5 is as well live, and you have as well different, you can use the free version, you can pay a little bit, or you can pay even more, you can pay a lot of money, and you get something that really thinks and makes and can interact with you in different ways. And that's what we see with this data analysis and custom GPTs, depending what you need, okay, how you're going to be, which plan, okay, you're going to take. If you take the free version, it's obviously simplified for everyone to use, but if you really in your organization and you have compliance and a little bit of data protection and privacy, so of course you want to use the versions that are taking that, and they're more custom for enterprises. So great. Summarizing, what do we get in terms of data analysis? Data processing, yes, that's good. Insight generation, that's good as well, because sometimes they come up with things and say, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't see it probably that way. Visualization depends. Here, I believe they can do very good things. Now they are, at least in ChatGPT as well, bring in all the different ones they have for videos and images. They put that together. That depends as well. The plan you have will be better or not so good, but it helps you to get an idea of that. And predictive modeling as well. It's good. Okay, does this quite fast and it's good, get the idea, but then we have to intervene. We cannot just copy paste. Right. So custom GPTs, okay, depends as well what you need, okay, and how much you're going to for your private use, or a little bit more business use or enterprise-wide use. So you always can get the one you need, and of course not the free version, obviously. And then of course you can get whatever best fit somehow support your needs. And then we have as well the enterprise, or availability of the enterprise GPTs, anything that is designed and trained, okay, that's important as well for use within a large organization or enterprise. And normally they should complement with the system, because of course there are a lot of levels of security and confidentiality, compliance, okay, that has to be taken into consideration. So pretty much this is somehow what we have. I just want to mention a few things. So I'm going to go actually to this one. It's a webinar and it's 1 hour. Of course, we can talk for 1 year about this. Take a look at these questions. You can type that on chat or the answers to the questions. In the meantime, I want to share something as well, because I was looking, I said, okay, all this is keeping me quite busy as well. What's going to happen? There is a lot of hype and a lot of fear. I mean, it's going to replace us, and what are we humans going to do in the future when the bots or generative AI is doing everything for us? So I actually said, okay, I will ask actually ChatGPT and said, hey, tell me, what is the future of project management or project managers? Are we going to still exist as a profession or not? And actually, I made an outlook from 25 to 2030, 2025 to 2030. So obviously, everything we mentioned, problem solving, yes, we want that, okay? We don't want to be number crunching and doing all that if we can get it done. But so it's, and I share now the key results. So obviously, it's not threatened but transform. PM role is more like project leaders or change navigators, okay? And what very important is obviously soft skills, strategic advisors, and hybrid PM, okay? Hybrid PM, the one who can use somehow AI, but as well the human part, emotional intelligence, and all this that so far models cannot do that good, okay? And I am talking about that in our IMPM Day, which is going to happen in November. I'm talking about hybrid project management. So what does it mean? And as well, just briefly, how AI can help us. But AI, not just hybrid project management, but hybrid project manager, okay? We are still humans, but we can use everything that AI can give us. We need to know exactly how to know whether it makes sense or not, and when do we need it and how. But conclusion is that we are still going to be needed. So that's good news, because we love what we do, most of us at least. And we want to make sure that we focus on people, strategy, change, emotional intelligence. Okay. And then we use this to help us with that, free up time, and then we can dedicate more to people and have the humans that my mother is always looking for at airports. Okay, good. So that's the last part from my side. Now, May, you want to take over?
Thank you so much, Horlina. So we want to hear from you in the Q&A. Any questions you have from this session, please pop that into the Q&A. I want to share a few of the comments that have come in the chat over the past hour, Horlina, because I think there were some really great comments. I think we learned a lot about the generative AI. People have noted here, participants, it can be analytical. It's one more piece of smart brain who answers almost everything. It's interacting with an automatic machine. It can create video, text, and art. So clearly everyone is really buying into the idea that AI can be very helpful. And I want to reinforce a point that you also mentioned, that prompts are very important. Prompt engineering is the strategic design of the questions that you give to the AI model. So prompt engineering is, it can really change the output, of course, and this is where good training can come in to help you write the correct prompts. You also mentioned what is AI actually replacing? And I love your analogy about your mom in the airport, how you want to talk to someone. The interpersonal skills, the EI component is really important, and that brings me to an article that you see in the chat here. My colleague Angela shared. You wrote an article on the interaction of EI, emotional intelligence, and project management, the intersection of that, and that blog is really super helpful. Okay, let me just check here to see whether we've got questions coming in here. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. As we okay, I'm seeing a few questions here. I think we can maybe take these. Okay, I'm sorry. How does one receive prompt training? Are there any recommended reading?
So I will say that you need to check. I honestly, more than reading, I will check if there is something available, in your time zone or wherever you are, that you can attend a course, a webinar, or on demand. I will probably check that. There are some, and this is the prompt engineering is evolving as well as some career, if you want. Okay, if you are in that field, but you probably ask, you don't want that, you don't want to do the career. But I will check something more interactive, because you can learn how to do that by practicing, right? Putting in and out. And if I may give a very simple advice, I use all three: ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot, and I put the same prompt, okay? And I see the result of the three. You can customize the way you want the result, and then you can as well yourself, depending if you're going to use it for projects, you can get that because right, what do you need to get from that. But then you start adding, what do you want, why do you want it, for which format, more formal, less formal. And I will say, try the three of them. Okay, and then you see the results, and then you see which one is more in line to what you want, and how you can then improve that. And of course, we have more formal training. We see that on chat. You can check that as well, and that's something as well you do hands-on. If I may, there is Mahendra says, what are the so I missed the question there. So what are some of the limitations of using adopting AI in field of project management? The limitation I see is thinking that it can replace everything we do. Okay, that we give them and they will analyze. Obviously, I mean, if you read, not because I want to give my article, not just because I made a comparison there in the article, AI, the bot versus human, a simulation, okay, between a human PM and a bot, okay, with the same situation. What do you do? So part of that, exactly, you use it to process all the data, but you cannot, so you will have more time to actually dedicate to people. So the role, I mean, we cannot outsource everything, but we are not going away, but our role is shifting. Okay, people, strategy, understanding what the results they are giving us. They process information, but then we need to interpret and say, does it make sense that I change the supplier now? ChatGPT is telling me to do that because it's the right logical decision to make, but I have a relationship with the supplier. Okay, so then I will talk to them and manage that differently. Okay, so this is what it is, more the personal part of that. Okay.
Perfect.
So I think we have one. If I may address, there is a question for tools, right?
Yes.
I think that, well, I mean, pretty much all the tools, Asana, Monday, Trello, they all have AI. Okay, and these are project manager tools. All right, so I will start with those because they're already in the project management field and they help you, they support that. So you don't need to go to tools that are completely new, different, or you're not familiar with. The ones, the project management tools, then they have that, and you can use the AI, profit from the AI. Normally they are enterprise pay, the license and everything is from the organization.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for those questions. Speaking about which platforms to use, how to best use these platforms for AI. Certainly, you can explore these platforms on your own. We're very happy to invite you to our upcoming live virtual classes on generative AI for project management, and you see the dates here on the screen. We are running 2 live virtual classes, one later this month, October 22, 23. December 4th and 5th. They're led by one of our leading instructors. You're going to get hands-on practice, understanding which tools are best for project management specifically, how they're used, and you'll walk away after 8 hours with some pretty firm knowledge of how to approach these tools. So check out the courses. You can use the QR code You can look at our website, iio.com, and you'll find the course shown under live virtual courses. Okay, in the interest of time, I want to just wrap up here. Jorgelina is mentioned kindly that she will be speaking at IPM Day, which is happening in just over 5 weeks. We invite you to check out the agenda. We've got some great speakers, including some fantastic resources. We are offering an AI course, a fundamentals course as a free course for all of you. But there's a lot more to the additional add-ons. There's some fantastic speakers, PDUs. You're going to get some great learning for yourself as well as your team members. So share it with your colleagues and get in touch with us if you have questions, and we'll hope to see you there. All right, and just wrapping up for today, I want to thank you all, first of all, for your engagement, your questions, and your comments. You've been a super audience, and we really appreciate your adding to the webinar and to the content here. I want to thank Jorgelina for leading the session. You can catch the replay as well as the resources and links in the email that you'll be receiving tomorrow. We would also love your feedback after this session. So look out for the evaluation link and give us your feedback. All right, and okay, I just want to see if there's any further comments. All right.
I see one, if I can answer quickly, Mohit.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. I mean, we shouldn't depend on that. That's why, we have these webinars with humans. We are all humans. No, but really, you're right. And it has to be, normally it will give us this, we need still technology because we do video conferencing. We don't need, ideally we see each other, but sometimes we can't. But it's practicing, let it go for this processing of information, and then spending more time, with the team or with stakeholders. Yes, we need the computers, but talking more, interacting more, then will help us to be able to manage that better as well. So, but you're right, it's a delicate line between that. So I think it depends as well where and how, but that's something we need to do in a conscious way. Absolutely.
Well said, Jorgelina, and thank you for those final comments. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. We've covered a lot, only scratched the surface, so we hope that you'll come back for more. And we hope to see you at IPM Day or at a future session. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.